Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. And for today's deck tech video, we'll take a look at an existing archetype that is probably going to have some update with March of the Machines Aftermath cards. And you'll notice here, you only have only one card, but still we're going to discuss the card choices here, despite the existing build before that I think I've also pictured in this channel. So we're going to see here the name this deck as Gruoil or Gruoil by Sarok23. It is another user submitted deck for the MTG Goldfish website, and the deck breakdown will be 8 artifacts, 2 battles, 19 creatures, 7 instants, 24 lands. That's still going well with the aggro route, but if you've checked the list before, it goes with adding these oil counters and getting the benefit of having more of these counters added to your creatures and going wide with that, not only curving out early on but also going well in the mid game to the late game. So we're going to start with the creature choices. We have 4 copies of Evolving Adaptive. So this goes with +1 for each oil counter on it. So whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, if the creature has critical power of toughness, then that of the Evolving Adaptive, you will put an oil counter on it. So not only going well with just creating or having another creature enters the battlefield under your control, but also making sure that you can proliferate this oil counter, so that you can just basically benefit of adding more oil counters and making the Evolving Adaptive bigger in the same setup. So that is 4 copies of that. We also have 4 copies of another 1-drop here. This is Exuberant Fuseling. This is the one to cast 0/1 Trample that has this +1/+0 ability for each of the oil counter on it. When it enters the battlefield, or whenever another creature or artifact you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you will put an oil counter Exuberant Fuseling. So that scenario would also be dependent on what your curve would look like, but we make sure that these oil counters would be proliferated or increased in number in the late game. So that with the 4 copies of that, we also have Galagriters. This is from Seeds of Jacapiana card. That with the trigger that has this alliance ability, whenever you cast or another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you have these options to having a counter on Galagriters. You'll create a tap treasure token, or you will gain 2 life. That has not been chosen once this turn. So that with the 4 copies, and make sure that you can have multiple triggers and multiple chances to have Galagriters, at least having 2 or more in the battlefield. So that with that creature, we also have 4 copies of the Magmatic Splinter. It is a 3 to cast 3 to haste. When it enters the battlefield, you will put 2 oil counters on target or creature you control. That way you can also put that on the Splinter itself, on the Gargitros, or the other first mana cost creature that you have cast. So it has also the trigger that at the beginning of your end step, return Splinter to its owner's hand unless you remove 2 oil counters from it. So that also benefits you for not only having to place this oil counter so that you can pump these 2 1-drops, but also you can make it for another turn by having this condition, despite that you would not need to put those counters on Magmatic Splinter, then you just have to return it back to your owner's hand. So with that curve early on, you can have this card again, the new card from the Aftermath, the March of the Machines Aftermath. That's Samut, Vizier of Tamun. It is a 3 to cast 2/3 human warrior cleric, also a legendary creature with this ability to first strike, vigilance, haste. Whenever a creature you control does combat damage to a player, if the creature enters the battlefield this turn, you will draw a card. So that way you can also have to draw a card on the setup that is in particular with another card, with that instance that you can satisfy with this artifact. So this artifact is the Orbas Forge, a 3 to cast artifact that at the beginning of combat, you will put an oil counter on it and then create this X1 red Correction Horror creature token with trample in haste, wherein the X is the number of oil counters on it, and you just need to sacrifice it at the token at the beginning of your next end step. So having those tokens created at the beginning of your combat and those oil counters proliferating equal to its power, then you can also have this benefit that whenever that creature token deals combat damage to a player, if that creature into the battlefield this turn, you will get the bonus card draw in the process. So with 4 copies of this, making sure that multiple instances of your creature tokens are created, during the beginning of combat. So with that support, also we have this one. This is Channeling Subua from Brexel 1. Then you have keep, you'll put and counter another target, non-token artifact or creature you control. So you have the option here to put these counters on the adaptive, on the Fuseling, or even on the Orba's Forge. Then you have this ability later on, you can pay to tap, create a 1/1 redirection goblin creature token. Activate only if an oil counter was removed from a permanent you control this turn, or a permanent with an oil counter on it was put into a graveyard this turn. So that scenario, you can also certify this one that you only need to have this condition satisfied so that you can able to create this free fraction golem creature token, and also benefit well with the Galagator's ability, and also with other ATB effects that also would trigger. So in addition to that, we also have 2 copies of the Weatherlight Completed. This is to cast 5/5 legendary artifact vehicle. As long as it has 4 or more precious counters on it, it is a protection creature in addition to its other types. And whenever a creature you control dies, put a precious counter Weatherlight Completed. Then draw a card if it has 7 or more precious counters on it. So if it doesn't, you can just scry 1. So it's just this only drawback here is that you would need to have these counters added to it. You would be able to need to have 4 or more precious counters on it. So the only drawback here is that you would need to have these counters, but later on proliferating those kinds of counters that's added on the Weatherlight Completed will also have this one become a flying creature. That with that artifact, that's it in total. We also have 2 battles in the deck. That is Invasion of Ixalan. So if you can check it here, it is this ability that enters the battlefield. Look at the top 5 cards of the library. You may reveal a permanent card from among them, put it in your hand, and put the rest in the bottom of the library in a random order. As long as it's able to flip, if able, you will be able to attack this one and have this one flip, you will get a Belligerent Legosaur that is a 4/3 Trampler. Dinosaur, whenever it casts a spell, it becomes indestructible under the turn. That's only the bonus on the setup, but the important thing is to can be able to dig up a permanent card, such as an artifact or a creature from the top 5 cards of the library. So with that, the support, we have these 7 instances. That's basically spot removals, play with fire, Kami's Flare, that is a bonus of dealing extra damage because of your modified permanent. So if you control a modified creature, that means that the added counters on your creature are modifications. You will get a bonus 2 damage to that permanent control that was dealt damage by Kami's Flare. So in addition, also we have 2 copies of Bolt Charge, wherein you can deal damage to a creature or player, and at the same time you can be able to proliferate its setup. So that being said, that is also going to go with the bonus of adding the counters for the adaptive again, for the Fuseling, for the Galagators, and even for the Orba's Forge oil counters. So the setup for the lances is basic with Copperline Gorge as a check lance, Far West basics, Carpusel Forest for the 1 mana Ouch lance, Mountain, and Slow lance with Rockfall Veil, with addition of the 3 Magnificent Gardens that we can able to become a copy of target non-token creature artifact control with mana value X. So that's only the same setup of this deck. In total, you have 24 lands at your disposal, so that you can able to maximize the curve and still be very efficient in the mid game up to the late game. So the average mana cost with surprisingly going well with only 2, but you can see here most well this functioning would also curve out from turn 1, turn 2, and succeeding turns that are added. Color distribution, you can go well with 24 of red and only 13 of green, but the benefit of mana fix, you have 19 for both red and green, and that's pretty much what the deck would really be able to fix. Despite that, looking at the casting cost here, would only need 1 of any particular color, so you would not be able to go with the instances where you would need to cast double green or double red in your mid game or to late game. And last but not the least are your tokens. We have Protection Golem. Let's flip from this artifact, the Channeling Subua, and also Protection Horror that is created by Orba's Forge, and of course treasure tokens to any game out any tokens that are used by ramp by Galagators. So I guess that's about it for this deck tech. It's pretty much interesting to build. The sideboard has not yet been finalized, but I'm pretty sure we could have a bunch of list of sideboards that can be used for March of the Machines aftermath, and we'll be able to adjust them accordingly depending on what would be the new archetype that could be arise from that newest set. So I guess that's a wrap up for this, guys, for this Gruoil Best 23 for your standard upcoming standard with March of the Machines aftermath deck tech. That's about it, guys. Thank you for checking in on this. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and see you on future deck tech from this set.